Hello and welcome to the NewsOK Varsity podcast. I'm Scott Wright. We're joined by Jacob Unruh, Trent Shadid. We are back after a hiatus and back in the podcast studio. Glad to be here. So we're gonna do a little bit of catch up. We've got a lot of things to talk about. Our Super 30, the top 30 recruits in the state as ranked by us, came out over the weekend, and we're gonna get into that. Dual state just wrapped up. Me and Trent were there for all of that. Jacob, we got basketball playoffs on the horizon. Some are already going in the smaller classes, so we'll talk some of that as well. But let's start with the Super 30, guys. We our list was out for an entire day, probably not even a full 24 hours before it got blown up by OU. But that's all right. We're used to it. It's the first list is always the toughest one to make, and obviously the reference that I'm making is John Michael Terry from Victory Christian, an outside linebacker as he's being recruited now. Though nothing that we read about him suggested that he was an outside linebacker. But he got an offer. He was not on our Super 30. He was a guy that we looked at and was probably, if we had gone 35, he probably would have made our list. Obviously, he'll be on the next one.
Yeah, we're not updating it now, but it'll be a little while.
But on Sunday during Junior Day, he gets an offer from OU, commits to OU. 6'4", 225, very athletic. There are times that there are guys, like I said, this first one is the hardest one because we have the least information available, and so there are going to be guys that we miss on. We understand that, and we can live with that. And this is obviously one, it's happened before. Guys like Ronell Lewis at Dewar was a guy that we knew nothing about whenever he got his offer and committed to OU. Aaron Colvin was a guy that hadn't been on some of the early Super 30 lists and then ended up at OU, and obviously that turned out pretty well for him too. So John Michael Terry is the first guy to blow up our rankings, and he had no stars on Rivals on Saturday, and by Monday he was a 3-star recruit. So this is how it goes for everybody. We're not the only ones, but guys, just kind of talk about as we're putting this list together. Like I said, this is the toughest one to find information on guys and figure out what's legit. What is it that really stands out as the big struggle for this first list as we're trying to put it together?
I want to point out, first of all, that when we get some people like to think, well, we're going to affect recruiting by our list. Right. Clearly, coaches don't pay attention.
Exactly.
If they had paid attention, John Michael Terry wouldn't have gotten an offer. So here's a lesson learned for those people who like to think that we're the ones impacting recruiting. We have no bearing in that. It is difficult, like you said. I mean, you've got some guys like Calvin Bundage who has 12 offers, just picked up number 13 yesterday, and then you've got guys like John Michael Terry who you can't find any information on too much about recruiting, but you know that he's a good player. And so what do you do with those guys? Where do you rank them in the 30? You got guys in the bottom tier there that maybe have one offer, but is that all they're going to get? They're going to get more. It's just a huge question mark so early in this process.
It's tough. Just you got to balance with what you've seen and who you cover. I mean, we all three kind of cover different areas of the Oklahoma City area. So our own areas we know well. Like I know Quan Hogan, I'm high on him. Norman North, he's like 6 on our list. So we can throw him in there. But he also has a Tulsa offer and some other attention from OU, OSU. But the kids that don't have that attention, like Nick Roller at Bixby, who I think is an outstanding player, probably be a fullback or a linebacker in college. Luckily, I just know that Kel Gundy has shown interest in him at OU. Otherwise, would he necessarily be on our list? Because at this point, he doesn't have a ton of recruiting attention, doesn't have a huge Rivals profile like everybody else. He's just kind of a tweener as far as the position. So it's the kids like that are hard to rank. But I think that we try to be right on before everybody else is, if that makes sense. Put him in the list now. Maybe we missed on John Michael Terry. We didn't have Dalton Wood last year from McAllister on the list because we couldn't. It's about the attention they've garnered to this point. It's not about our opinion of how good of a player they are. It's about their recruiting attention. So it's just a tough balance overall.
Yeah, it is. And putting this list together is a lot more reactionary than I think people realize. They think that we're projecting more than what we are. You know, and I mean, we try to do some of that, like you mentioned, with a guy like Nick Roller. Logan Roberson at Hera is a guy that I'm personally a very big fan of, and I think is going to be a big time recruit. And we had him high on our list when he's not getting talked about on other lists or you know, getting a lot of recruiting attention yet. You know, there are a lot of guys that we try to project a little bit, but the big chunk of what we're doing is evaluating what this kid has done to this point, what kind of legitimate recruiting attention he's getting, you know, what's just letters and what's actual, you know, people coming to see him and visit with him and things like that, to the point that it's allowed. Obviously, no head coaches on campus, things like that, but you know, junior day invites, things like that are some serious interest from a college program, you know, that we have to try to weigh and figure out what you know, what the actual future is for some of these kids. And it's tough, and it gets a whole lot easier from here on out. You know, our next revision of the Super 30 will be in May, after either after or during spring football, which there's a lot that happens between now and then, because a lot of coaches start coming out and visiting with kids. You know, high school spring football is after college spring football, so a lot of guys get invited to spring games and things like that. So there's a lot of things that happen between now and May, and you know, coaches actually come out to some practices in May and watch kids work out. So there's a lot more that'll change between now and then, and there's probably be a lot of changes made to this list between now and then. John Michael Terry is obviously a guy at Victory Christian, a small school guy, and I think that one of the most interesting things about this list as we were putting it together is the number of guys in Class 4A and below that are in serious contention on this list. I don't think we've had a list this heavy with small school guys, but there are a bunch of guys 4A and below that are legitimate D1 athletes, and so it's gonna make things fun to watch at those levels. But going through some of those guys, who are some of your favorites, guys? Either one of you want to jump in, but who are
at all levels?
No, 4A and below.
4A below. Okay. I got to watch Heritage Hall a lot last year. I'm a huge fan of Luther Harris. He is a little on the heavy side, last I knew. But I know that's something they're working with him with. He's just a beast at the offensive tackle. He's big. He's strong. I didn't see him get beat very often at that level. He played really well in the state title game, just about every game I saw him. And then another one, you know, he blocks well for Terrell Love, otherwise known as Tank. And Tank's kind of surprising to me on this one a little bit, because I wasn't sure how his recruiting would go, because he's not very tall. He's a really short kid, but he's powerful, he's strong. But yeah, you've got Kansas, SMU, some of those guys coming in, talking with him. No offers yet, but you know, he's at least getting visits from these schools and stuff, and those are two that really kind of stand out to me at that level.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how things progress with those guys. Heritage Hall is obviously a program that is very familiar with the recruiting process with the guys that they've put out. So they know how this works and how to get their guys the right kind of attention and how to get them ready for the next level.
I think the thing that's most interesting to me about that group, the group of the 4A and below, a lot of those kids have the D1 size. That's the thing usually about those classes is they can produce in 4A and below, but they don't have the size to go play Division I, so they get a lot of Division II offers and that sort of thing. But you know, Jimmy McKinney, the linebacker from Oologah, 6'1", 220. I mean, that's D1 size right there. Jeremy Lewis, running back at Lone Grove, he's actually my favorite one of that group, 6'2", 185. Yeah. You know, a lot of times you see a kid tearing it up in the lower classes, and he, you know, I mean, I don't know, he's 5'10", and he's got speed, but he's just not going to get the attention. But I would say that Jeremy Lewis, right there, we've got him at 10. Yeah. You know, and he's a running back from Lone Grove. Yeah. That doesn't happen very often. So he's definitely my favorite.
He has a chance to climb, too, I think. I think if he has another good season, he's going to start racking up some offers.
Yeah, I really do. He's so unique in that he's got that size, but he's got the breakaway speed, too. You know, obviously that's one thing that's tough to judge in a guy that's at a smaller school level. Is he, you know, outrunning a bunch of slow kids, or is he
really legit, but I think he's got legit speed. And when you mix that size in there, he's got the Tulsa offer already, and I think that he's got a chance to really climb higher in that top 10. Logan Roberson is a guy that I mentioned already from Hera, big 6'5", 320-pound offensive lineman. He works with JD Runnels at his gym in Choctaw, and I got to talk to JD about him a little bit, and he says that this kid is just so powerful and thick. He just raves about the kid, and JD's not the type to blow smoke about a kid. I mean, he talks up his guys, but he doesn't overinflate them. And so that's one of the things that really contributed to why we've got him at number 13 on our list right now. Trent, you mentioned size being an issue for some of these smaller school kids, and Grant Martin at Hera was a guy that was brought up as why is the leading rusher from 11-man football not on the list as he's going into his senior year after the incredible season that he had. He was first team All-State for us, but he's a guy that size becomes a legitimate issue. He's 5'9", and I think listed at probably around 165. And the thing about Grant is that he knows that he's got to get stronger. He's got to go run between the tackles like a big back to be able to get to that level. He knows that. I talked to him when he came up for our All-State Media Day. He understands that he's got to put on some weight and keep his speed and his elusiveness with an extra 10 or 15 pounds on him, and be able to be a stronger back in between the tackles and be the complete back. So he's a guy that if he's able to do those kinds of things, maybe he starts getting some attention with the kind of stats he puts up, with the speed that he's got. But early on in the process, he's a D2 type of guy, and a guy that can go at that level and really excel. So. But with Logan in front of him, he's going to have some holes to run through, and like I said, there doesn't seem to be a lot of buzz around Logan just yet, but I think it's coming for him. So,
Scott, I have to ask, who do you think is going to be the biggest riser when it's all said and done on this?
Not counting our good friend John Michael Terry.
yeah, excluding him.
That's the easy one.
Yeah. I think that either of the Norman North linemen have a chance to excel. Corey Tipsword is number 18 on our list, and then you've got Walker Reed, who is 28. Both of them, I think, have a chance to shoot up. They both were solid as juniors, and I think that the ceiling is very high for both of those guys. We'll see what happens with some of these quarterbacks. I think that Micah Wilson is out of the quarterback group. We've got 2 quarterbacks in the top 10 already, and I think that that's probably about where they're going to stay. But Micah Wilson is just outside of the top 15, and I think that he has a chance to be a top 10 guy as well once he can prove that that he's got the size and the speed. And I mean, you watch his film, he's definitely talented. So just a really steady player. So we'll see how that goes, but I think that he's got a chance to be a top 10 guy. Anybody that sticks out for either of you guys?
I think I look at Jordan Brown at Stillwater and Jamal Shaw at Broken Arrow and think those guys have a chance to really, really explode. I saw both of them last year. They're both incredible athletes. Jordan, Georgia, LSU, people like that are already showing interest in Jordan Brown, and Jamal he's got good size for running back. I mean, he's only 6 foot, but he looks a little bit bigger when you see him, and he runs incredibly well. And I think those are the kind of guys that some schools might see. Hey, let's take a flyer on some of these guys, and they're going to climb.
I like Tyler Adkins, running back at Tulsa Union. He's only 5'9", 5'10", something like that. So he is a little bit undersized, but he produced really well at Union. But the thing about it is at Union, and this was the same thing at Broken Arrow with Shaw, they split time.
Yeah.
So you kind of get – that's kind of like being in a small school where you get under-recruited just because you don't get necessarily the exposure. But, you hear about kids all the time that split time at a big school, and then they finally get some breakthrough offer to D1, and then they go have a great career.
Yeah.
So, I think that at some point if someone does take a chance on him, he would be a good get for anybody. So I think he's in the 27, 28, somewhere around there for us right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a big offer and jump maybe in the top 15.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been amazing. You think about how many running backs we've talked about in this just during this podcast.
It's supposed to be the year of the quarterback, and
right,
we're
exactly.
talking about running backs.
Exactly. I mean, the running backs on this list, the whole group is so deep with. We haven't really gone in depth about Quan Hogan. Haven't talked about Darren Williams at Edmond Santa Fe.
Justice Hill who's committed to
who's
OSU.
already going to Oklahoma State. So we haven't even talked about some of the big guys, but there are some of the elite guys. But there are a lot of guys on this list that are going to be getting some serious recruiting attention. All right, let's move along. We'll talk some basketball here in a minute. Talk about some of our favorite 5A and 6A matchups. But Trent, dual state just wrapped up. We've got regionals this weekend, and then the state tournament a week away in wrestling. What back to dual state? What really stood out? You were at the big schools, 5A, 6A. What stood out up there?
Well, the finals in 6A, Broken Arrow and Stillwater, which has kind of been a little bit of a rivalry the last couple of years.
Right.
Broken Arrow barely edged them in the dual state finals last year. Stillwater came back, beat them in the regular season by 1 point, and then beat them by 2, I guess it was, at dual state. It's really about as good of a high school duel there in the finals as maybe I've ever seen. Stillwater is their 220-pound guy, doesn't make weight. Central Carden doesn't make weight at 220 to start the day. So, which in wrestling is, if you don't know, not making. Once you commit to a weight class, especially at dual state, if you don't make weight, that is a huge no-no. I mean, like if he doesn't make weight this week, he doesn't even get to wrestle at regionals.
Right.
So luckily, with it being a dual situation, a team situation, they could just slide him up to heavyweight. But he goes 0-2 to start the day in their first 2 wins, and then the duel comes down to him. I mean, the state championship comes down to him. He probably weighs somewhere around 225 regularly, maybe 230. The kid he's wrestling from Broken Arrow, probably pushes the 285 limit. So, just being that outsized is really a difficult task in wrestling. Ends up getting the win in overtime, and Stillwater wins their first ever dual state title. So that was about as good of a high school duel I've ever seen, like I said. Now you were at Cushing.
Yeah.
Tuttle. I guess we can't be surprised by anything they do. Under Serber for the last decade or so, they've just been outstanding. How impressive were they from a guy who doesn't watch a ton of wrestling? I guess.
It was ridiculous. It really was. I mean, they start out. They have 5 pins in the first 5 matches, and you're basically like, oh, okay. Can we go ahead and just give them the trophy now? I mean, it was funny because I was standing behind the Tuttle bench over against the wall in the gym watching everything go on, and about halfway through, like Tuttle guys are like walking around looking over at the trophy and stuff. It's like their focus was completely off of what was going on the mats. I mean, they were just dominant. It was 58-0 before Clinton even got on the board with a pin at 195, I think. And at that point, I'm pretty sure that that Serber was kind of mixing up his lineup and changing things up a little bit and kind of bump some guys up and letting some guys get some experience on that stage. So it was incredibly impressive what they did, and it was fun to watch on a completely different level than what you saw or what I even saw on the other mat in Class 3A, but. Really, really impressive watching a team be that dominant in that situation.
Well, that's the thing. Every time I talk to Serber, I ask him, "Is this still? I mean, what do you guys look at as fun?"
Right.
Because you're just killing everybody at this point every year, and I don't know. I mean, you got to do different. They do have to do different things to motivate each other. It is an individual sport first, so that you still got kids chasing state championships, and they've got great programs from the Pee Wee kids through the junior high all the way up. So that helps a lot. But I think it is a unique situation, just trying to motivate kids that have had so much success, as opposed to maybe other sports. But like you said, 3A Perry wins, which is normally isn't a surprise, but they upset Plainview, so that's that was an interesting duel, I'm sure. And then 5A Collinsville, gets a 5th straight dual state title too, which was also a little bit of an upset. That was a team that people weren't really expecting to win. But no, really overall, Tuttle just dominant and impressive, and then the other 3 classes extremely competitive. And I expect it to be the same way in 2 weeks at the high school state tournament. So if you enjoy wrestling, the crop is really good right now. So in 2 weeks, State Fair Arena, come out to that.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the level of wrestling among young kids at Tuttle. Okay, so for people that weren't there, okay, the Tuttle match ends way before the Perry Plainview matches. There's probably four more weight classes to go, and Tuttle is done. They've celebrated. They've all moved over, and they're watching what's going on in the Perry Plainview match. And there's 4 wrestling matches going on this mat now, on where Tuttle was wrestling. All little kids out there. They've all got their Tuttle gear on, and they're just going at it. You know,
they want to get out there on that dual state mat.
Exactly. They were on the state championship mat, and they were going at it, and parents are watching them and watching what's going on and just having a blast. It was a really cool scene to see those kids. I mean, because it was, it's a big deal to them, and they know that they want that opportunity one day. And I mean, it was little kids out there even.
Well, and they'll probably get it because the kids that were doing that 5 or 6 years ago when Tuttle was first started winning titles are the kids that are competing now. So.
Exactly. So it was pretty interesting. You touched on the state finals here in a couple of weeks. Is there any big storyline that we need to be keeping an eye on?
To me, 6A is the most interesting just because it's such a. I mean, Stillwater's got 3 kids alone going to OSU. They've got a kid going to Army. But they're going to have their hands full again, topping Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow's going to push kids into the finals. They're going to have, they're also Broken Arrow's a team that could have a lot of kids come back and get 3rd and 4th. And that goes a long ways towards winning the team title, just because you get to win some matches, you get to maybe get some bonus points in the losers bracket. But no, the 6A, and really, like I said, 3A will be competitive. I would expect Plainview and Perry again to compete for it. 4A, it's kind of interesting to watch Tuttle dominate. So I can guarantee you that's what's going to happen. 5A will be competitive as well. So really, I guess kind of the parity in 3 of the 4 classes is kind of the thing to watch.
All right, Jacob, we'll finish up this NewsOK Varsity podcast with a little bit of basketball talk. And as you look at 5A, 6A playoffs, which are a little over a week away right now, all those teams are finishing up their final week of the regular season right now. What are some first weekend matchups, potential matchups, in the regional final that really stand out to you that could be a lot of fun to watch here in a couple weeks?
Well, I was just looking at the bracket, and you look at it, and at the Choctaw Regional for the girls, you've got a chance of Eben Memorial Choctaw matchup on Saturday, and that's going to be interesting to watch because Memorial has struggled lately against some of those top-tier teams, such as Choctaw, but then last week they upset Westmore. And so that, so you can't count out Memorial there. You've got Santa Fe, Norman North possibly on a Saturday one, and, you saw that game a week ago, and Jonathan Johnson had to hit a layup at the buzzer to win that one. And Putnam North in the first round, in the first game. That's intriguing matchup. Putnam North has won a couple of those games this year against Putnam West, but Putnam West is improving, and they have a chance to advance, and they'll likely play Westmore, which is a really good team. And but the favorite over on the south on the west side for 6A is Southmore. They've won 14 straight going into tonight's game with Westmore. They added Kyra Johnston, who got eligible from a hardship waiver, and they've just taken off since they've gotten her. I mean, they dominated the tournament. I could go and rail on the ranking system if you'd like, but I'm going to refrain. They're number 2 for some odd reason when they've beat every top 5 team they need to, including Muskogee above them. So matchups like that are really, really intriguing for me. And the 6A West side, 5A West side, looks like you've got a chance of Carl Albert and El Reno. Pretty good matchup there. And Piedmont, Lawton, Eisenhower's in their 5A one here on the west side that could be interesting. Piedmont's kind of struggled lately, and they're a really hot shooting team. So if they struggle to shoot, they're gonna struggle like they have been. They got beat by El Reno recently. Chickasha upset them. Chickasha's now down in 4A. Upset them in the tournament. And so Eisenhower could get him with Crystal Polk on the inside. They don't have an inside presence to stop her, Tulsa signee. So what stands out to you for the boys?
Looking at the boys bracket, I'll be completely transparent. I don't care what happens the first 2 weeks, as long as we get Mustang Putnam City West in the Class 6A championship game. I don't care about anything.
Oh yeah, no, there's no reason.
I'm dying to see that basketball game. Putnam City West has they went through a little bit of a funk right after Christmas, and had to struggle through a couple of wins, lost to Tulsa Union in the finals at the Putnam City Invitational. But I saw them twice last week, and they're hitting on all cylinders. They don't even have Trey Evans right now, who had an ankle injury, and then when he got back from the ankle injury, he got sick, and he tried to go against Midwest City last week, and by halftime he was done. He just had no energy. When they get him back, that's a starter who was averaging about 17 points a game for a good portion of the season. They're missing Dwight Robles, who is their best defender off of the bench. So this is a really deep team that's got some guys coming back that are going to make them even deeper. Mustang's just been cruising through a really soft portion of their schedule. Now, as we're taping this here on Tuesday afternoon, they've got Norman North tonight at Norman North, which is their biggest game of the month, really, before we get to playoffs. So that'll be interesting to see how they get back into big game shape. But they're the only team in the state that can match Putnam City West's depth. But anyway, I love those two teams. I hope they get to play. But that's looking ahead of what we've got right in front of us. And just like you mentioned with Edmond Santa Fe, Norman North, the boys have a chance to meet up on their side of the bracket in the second round if they can both advance. And that was a game that it was interesting because Santa Fe beat Norman North pretty bad on the final weekend before rankings and seedings were voted on. So it was kind of curious whether or not that might flip them at 4 and 5. Obviously, that wouldn't have made a difference because they're still 4 and 5. It just makes a difference who gets to host. But Norman North gets the host berth at number 4. Santa Fe is the 5 seed. If those two teams meet in the second round, it's going to be phenomenal. With the regional championship on the line. So I'm really looking forward to that because Santa Fe is playing a lot better basketball right now. They're so athletic. Deron Mims and Daquan Jeffries, who I almost forgot his name. Apologize, Daquan. But those two guys are just incredibly strong and athletic. And Santa Fe doesn't have a lot of size, but they play big. They're just really solid. And Norman North has the 3 guards: Trey Young, Marcus Dickinson, Lindy Waters, who are if high school basketball was 3-on-3, they'd be my choice for state champs with those 3 guys. So that game stands out a lot in the second round. And looking at 5A, I wrote about Connor Avance as my player of the week for this week. Just scored his 1,000th point at Deer Creek. They could potentially match up with Southeast in the second round. Now, Deer Creek has been playing they're playing in the COAC, the Central Oklahoma Athletic Conference, which is all 6A teams except for them, and some really good 6A teams at that. I mean, they're playing the best teams in 6A, on an almost nightly basis. But Southeast is an interesting matchup for them. So, I mean, they played teams better than Southeast all year, but Southeast matches up with them differently because Southeast doesn't have anybody inside that can compete and contain Connor Avance, a big 6'7", strong, physical post presence. But there are very few teams, Deer Creek included, that have the guards to contain Jay Sean Talton and Deshaun Stevens on the outside. Deshaun McDowell. Wrong basketball player named Deshaun. I apologize. Deshaun McDowell, who's heading to Tulsa, 6'5", incredibly talented. He can play the point. There's times that they'll just give him the ball and tell him to go to work. So that's going to be a really interesting matchup if those two end up meeting in the second round, because they both got the opportunity to exploit the other's weakness. And that's a little unfair to Deer Creek. Their guards aren't a weakness, but they can't match up with a couple of 6'4", 6'5" guards who are athletic and can shoot and can get to the rim. So it's a tough matchup for their guards. But at the same time, Southeast might be having to put McDowell and Talton down inside to try to slow down Avance. Could wear those guys out, get them in foul trouble. Who knows? So, but it's a really intriguing second round matchup in Class 5A for a regional title. So. we'll see what happens. The good news is that this time of year, for the next 4 weeks, there's really nothing boring about anything that we get to do. So a lot of fun on the horizon for us. We'll keep the podcast coming after our hiatus and get you through basketball season, and really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. So for Trent Shadid, Jacob Unruh, I'm Scott Wright. Thanks for joining us on the NewsOK Varsity Podcast.